What is a sign that you're unattractive? Story 1. My wife is always telling me that our kids must get their good looks from me because she still has all of hers. Good one. Story 2. Someone once told me, your brother is so hot. You guys don't look too much alike. Story 3. A friend of mine shared a post about not being cute. Racked up haha and angry reacts. Shared the same post, got sad reacts. Lol. Ouch. Story 4. If a stranger who's smiling makes eye contact with you, then stop smiling. My crush did this with me. LMAO. One of the most painful LMAOs I've ever seen. Story 5. A girl tried to hook up with me while she was drunk and then went to AA after she sobered up. Story 6. You're invisible. Not only do you not get hit on, you don't even get talked to. In school, a guy got assigned to sit with me and my friends for some project, and he said, wow, lucky me, sitting with 2 beautiful women. There were 3 of us. Story 7. Suddenly, the guy in the van is all out of candy and tells you that his parents told him not to talk to strangers. Story 8. Self-deprecating jokes just make people uncomfortable. I had a professor in college who was morbidly obese, in his own words, and would constantly make jokes in classes about it. No one laughed, and his Rate My Professor page was filled with warnings about how uncomfortable this was. I still feel bad for the dude. Story 9. At my grandfather's funeral a few years back, my mom asked my aunt how she managed to have 3 absolutely gorgeous kids, while me and my brother were standing right behind her. When she found out we heard her, she got flustered and almost embarrassed. My aunt was shocked. My one cousin was shocked and apologized to me a week later. I always knew I wasn't the belle of the ball, but to hear my own mom fully admit she wishes we looked like my cousins was the cherry on top. And when I realized I wasn't really that great looking if my own mother thought that. That was an interesting day, to say the least, and I'll never forget it. So to answer the question, a sign that you're unattractive is when your own mother wishes you looked like someone else. Story 10. When someone says you're unattractive and the other person next to you says, don't be rude, instead of, no, he's attractive. Story 11. I was walking toward a piece of equipment in the gym. An attractive young woman was standing between it and me. She noticed me walking in her direction, and her facial expression changed immediately. Just dropped. She seemed to think I was approaching her and was disgusted. So, that. Story 12. Wanted to find answers, not feel described. Story 13. Be 32, a virgin, and never had a girlfriend. But what spells can you cast now? Depression. Story 14. I was at a bar with the boys. Across the room, me and a pretty lady met eyes. For a moment, things moved in slow motion. I gave her a wry grin and looked away. Another minute or so passed, and I glanced back her way. We instantly locked eyes again. I think I'm on here. I noticed her friend walking over to me, and I'm thinking, oh, this is it. She's probably going to tell me her friend thinks I'm cute. She tells me her friend wants me to stop staring at her. It's creeping her out, and maybe we should think about leaving. To make it worse, the boys all wanted to know what she said. Could have been worse. You could have ended up with her. Story 15. I was a chubby kid, and my sister, who's still better looking, was the skinny, angelic kid with blonde hair and blue eyes. Our family went to the same pizza place pretty frequently, and we loved the mints that they gave out with the checks. So since everyone knew us there, they'd often give us extra mints. One time, my sister and I decided to walk up to the front desk where you paid your bill. This place was set up like a diner, and ask for mints. I asked first, and the woman handed me 2 or 3. Now it's my sister's turn. Keep in mind we walked up together and I'm standing there waiting for her. When she asks, the woman at the register brings out the basket and lets her grab as many as she wants. And naturally, she took an entire handful and refused to share. Just a quick side note, if you like our content and love listening to our stories, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get notified for our future uploads. Now back to our stories. Story 16. My sister and I were always told she was the pretty one. I was the smart one. I'm not smart. Your sister must be stupid as Story 17. If you hear, looks don't matter, or similar addressed to you, I once was chatting to a guy about my crappy love life and his words of condolence were, oh, but you're so nice. You'll find someone. Story 18. Hang out with a few little kids, they'll tell you. Little kids will tell you anything. Story 19. Someone brought up that every friend group has an ugly friend. I stupidly said, that's not true. I don't think anyone here is ugly. Silence. I thought nothing of it for 3 years until it finally hit me. Story 20. I've been told I look like a cowboy, and I'm not sure what that means. It means you look like a cowboy, Cletus. Embrace it. Oh, okay, yee-haw! Story 21. My high school best friend was extremely good looking, so most guys who ever talked to me did so in hopes of getting to know her, and a lot of guys would talk to me. I later found out about the existence of the webcomic that they started about us, which was called The Hot and the Funny. The caricature of me in the comic is one of the ugliest things I've seen in my entire life. Story 22. A friend of mine tried to kiss a girl at a party. She replied, I'm not drunk enough for that, then vomited on the floor and passed out. Story 23. Babies don't stare at you and kids tell you that you're ugly. Story 24. The checkout girl separates you and your wife's items at the till. Story 25. I had a picture of my first wife, who had just gotten married, up on my desk at work on my second day at the job. One of the senior programmers came by to introduce himself and looked at the picture. He goes, "Oh no, I guess the old guy accidentally left that picture here." I politely explained that it was my wife, and he was like, "Damn, good for you." That solidified who was the better looking one in that relationship. Story 26. When you wear clothes that are revealing and people call you brave, if you're attractive, they will say how hot you look. I wish I had your confidence. Story 27. I saw a post where someone said if you want to know if you're pretty or not, make a TikTok post about how pretty you are. If they comment conceited or arrogant, you are pretty. If they comment brave and yes, self-love, you are ugly. That one really hit home. Story 28. If you're attractive, then you will know it for sure. People will always tell you that you're attractive, you'll get hit on, etc. Being ugly is more of a process of discovery. Most people won't come out and say you're ugly, but they also won't say you're attractive. They're just trying to be nice by not saying anything at all. I was at a bar with a group of guys last year. There was this girl that was flirting with him, and at one point, for whatever reason, she went around the table to rate who was the cutest. She got to me and said, "You're not very attractive." Story 29. If you're attractive and you say you're ugly, people look at you annoyed and accuse you of fishing for compliments. If you're not attractive and you say you're ugly, everyone tries their hardest to convince you that you're not ugly. Guess I'm ugly, boys. No, you're not. I promise. Oh my God, don't ever think that. Story 30. When not even your grandmother tells you you're beautiful. Story 31. My 5-year-old cousin once pointed to an old photo in my great-aunt's house and asked, "Is that me?" Me. "Nope, that's me when I was your age." Her. "You used to look just like me." Me. "Yep, and when you grow up, this is what you'll look like." Pointing to myself. She burst into tears and ran to her mother. Story 32. If you grew up as that kid that people would say their friend liked as an embarrassing joke, the idea of you having a partner is a running joke in your circle. Relatives and overly nice people are your only source of compliments, and the difference in treatment, whether it's being left out or patronized. Story 33. When I was younger, I found out from a friend that a group of girls played Kiss, Marry, Kill, and I was usually Kill. Story 34. When someone says, "You could be really pretty if," insert some appearance-changing hack here. I've had this so many times because I have a lazy eye. Like everyone is like, "You'd be so pretty if you didn't have that weird eye thing." Thanks for pointing out something I cannot change. And for everyone saying this, I cannot wear an eye patch because it will make the muscles in my eye even more weak, which will then make my eye even worse. And no, I can't get surgery because it's too expensive and I can't afford it. I've had people say, "If only you lost some weight." And then I go lose a ton of weight and then people start saying, "If only you could fix your teeth." Or, "If only you don't have pimple scars." And it goes on and on. That's when I realized I'm just born ugly and just need to accept it and move on. Lol. Story 35. People say, hang out with kids because they're honest. Never do that. I was such an asshole as a kid. I called everyone that has dark hair ugly because my mom had blonde hair, and for me, she was beauty itself. You do not know how a child's mind works. They'll call you ugly just because you look nothing like their mom. Story 36. People generally avoid you and seem to look at you in disgust or pity. At least that's what it seems from my experience. There are actually studies about this. Handsome people are often met with a nicer attitude and have it easier in life. Story 37. Okay, so I'm a firm believer in the cliche that beauty is only skin deep. I work at trade shows across the country around male and female models who are physically attractive, and while you might say or think, "Wow, they're really good looking," that in and of itself does not define them as attractive. Being attractive to me means people are drawn to you. You attract others to be near you. They like to be around you. They want to know more about you. They invite you to do things. You might notice that you're unattractive if, in general, people avoid you. They ignore you in passing. People tend not to engage with you. They don't have any interest in who you are as a person. You're forgettable. I opened this thread expecting to get insulted, not deeply depressed. Story 38. When I was younger, I went to a YMCA summer camp. My younger brother went there too. Since he was cute, he was really popular. The older girls went, "Aww," whenever they saw him. They didn't know me and him were related. So I told them, "Did you know me and Wolfie are related?" They said, "Ew." Then they went to my brother and told him that they could replace me and that it must be hard having such an ugly brother. The worst part is that my brother said, "Yeah, living with an ugly brother is hard. I don't go to camp anymore." Story 39. When, as a 6-year-old, you asked your mother, "Mom, am I pretty?" And she replied, "Looks don't matter, sweetie." Anyone? Oh, just me? Okay. Story 40. My friend and I were at this summer camp. There's this cute girl in our group. My friend, he's a solid 8 out of 10, asked for a picture together. The girl gladly and excitedly said yes. After they got their picture taken, I asked her to get a picture with me too. And the look on her face was like, why not we take a picture as a group instead? Then she walked away. This was way back then. Now I'm more confident and kinda glowed up, so I'm fine. Story 41. When I was in 8th grade, a boy came straight up to me and asked, "Why are you so ugly?" Yeah, for a 14-year-old girl, that hurt a lot. Now I'm 20 and still think I'm unattractive. Story 42. No one has ever flirted with me or told me I'm attractive. Honestly, it could simply be because I have a resting poker face. I'm a guy and I get it from my dad, so I easily intimidate many people. Back in high school, my group of friends told me they were scared of me at first because I always looked so angry or pissed. Story 43. When I was in junior high school, the popular girls all got in trouble for making a list ranking the guys from hottest to ugliest. What really hurt was I wasn't even on the list. Would have been nice to at least be thought of. Story 44. When members of the opposite get upset if you're friendly to them, like if you're minding your own business, having a nice day, thinking about something else, and you accidentally smile and say thank you to someone in a shop, at which they give you a look of fear and disgust. Story 45. When at a party, ask a girl if she wants to dance with you, but instead of simply declining, she asks another girl if she wants to dance with you, leading to an argument about who should dance with you as if you were part of a punishment or the punchline of a bad prank. It happened to me a lot of years ago. It hurt, so I left the party. Story 46. If you're fat, people expect you to be a lovely person to compensate for your unattractiveness. Story 47. Finally, one that I'm an expert in. Children stare at you until their parents make them stop. You're told you look like a fictional character, and that character is known for being unattractive. Strangers avoid you before you even had a chance to say anything. You ask someone out, and she just laughs at you. Genuine, uncontrollable laughter. The cashier looks up at you and flinches. You get the cops called on you just for existing in public, and I'm not even black. Story 48. In every relationship or crush I've had, the person ends up in a better relationship shortly after I ask them out. I'm still alone and I'm really hating myself. I've given up on relationships as there's no point. Story 49. I used to work with adults with intellectual disorders. Now there is a population that keeps it real. One time, one of my program participants looked at my face in full sunlight, smiled sympathetically and touched my arm and said, "You should wear makeup, to be pretty." Story 50. Don't worry, insert name. There are plenty of fish in the sea. You'll find someone. Or, I wish there were more guys like you. Translation, you're nice, but you look like the wrong end of a gibbon. Story 51. Several people send you the same poem about being beautiful on the inside. Yeah, that happened. Story 52. Oh man. My high school English teacher absolutely roasted my brother on the first day of class freshman year. A little backstory. My older brother is 3 years older than me and went to the same school. He was a certified genius and was an AP everything, and had this particular teacher for AP English. We were doing our introduction since it was our first day, and right when I got done, he goes, "Oh, you're Timmy's brother, right? Well, he's got the brains, so you must have the looks." Oh, I feel bad for Timmy then. I didn't fully grasp what he said until the end of class. Lol, absolutely loved that teacher. Story 53. One time in high school, these guys came up to me and a group of my friends of 5 girls. They asked us to introduce ourselves, and we started. Once he got to the girl beside me with 2 of us left to introduce, a guy said, "Y'all can stop here. You only need their names." Shattered my self-confidence. Story 54. Oh boy, finally a question based on my expertise. Few pointers from my experience of being unattractive for 18 years. I'm not ready for this. You mumble under your breath every time someone takes out their phone and says, "Let's take a selfie." Getting a tagged you in a post or photo notification is a literal nightmare, especially if it's a group picture because you know you look ugly in 9 out of 10 of them. And the person who posted the picture definitely didn't make the decision based on how you look in it. You've experienced at least one, "I like you, but..." My dudes, every sentence before the word "but" is horse. You've had at least one friend who's constantly trying to tell you how beauty is skin deep, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, etc. "You have a great personality, though." Guys or people befriend you only to get a medium to befriend your actually attractive friend. Story 55. Got my hair and makeup done for a friend's wedding. My little cousin sees me and comes up to me super excited and says, "You look like a princess." I was like, "Oh my god, really?" He says, "Yes, Princess Fiona." Story 56. There was a mentally impaired kid that went to my high school. Saw him with his family years later. The first thing he says, "Whoa, you got fat." I laughed that off. His brother, who had no disability, pressed the issue. "Yeah, how did that happen?" Kept bringing it up. Yeah, he was just a... His handicapped brother had more tact. Story 57. When drunk people sober up when you try to make a move on them. Story 58. My best friend, hot new guy, and I engaged in a water fight during lunch. The bell rang and he touched my shoulder and asked if I could stay back a second because he wanted to ask me something. After 3 years of walking quietly in the shadow of my best friend's incredibly massive middle school breasts, I cannot describe the feeling of finally being seen by someone I liked. He asked me if my best friend would say yes if he asked her out. Even though my soul was crumbling out my butt at that moment, I told him she would, and walked her over to him. Picking up my backpack and walking to class all alone, looking back and seeing them holding hands and smiling into each other's faces, I think he's gay now. Story 59. When I worked at a homeware store, I greeted a guy and we started a conversation. I can't remember how, but it ended with him gesturing to my face and saying, "Beauty isn't on the outside, it's on the inside." I'm sure he meant well, but God, did that cause a spiral of self-consciousness. I was only 15. Story 60. When the popular kids would prank their friends by getting you to ask their friends out, I was asked out by one of the popular girls in high school once. I thought she was messing with me, so I said no. Turns out she genuinely wanted to date me. Low self-esteem sucks. My current boyfriend thought his brother was pranking him when I went up to him and asked for his number. It turned out he had a crush on me since middle school, but he always thought I was too good for someone like him, so he never made the attempt to talk to me. We've now been dating for about a year and a half. Story 61. When someone of the opposite gender hugs all your friends but high-fives you. Story 62. When people say you look like someone famous, and that famous person is not attractive. Two of the worst I got were Meatloaf, which ain't bad, the dude rocks, and Corey from Pawn Stars, which made me reevaluate myself. Story 63. You don't get flirted with. When you have dinner with others, the waitstaff always pays attention to the other party or parties only. You only look good to yourself in your mirror. You look weird in photos and hate taking them. Only people you're not attracted to ever match with you on dating apps. If you're dating a woman, she only ever comments on your good personality traits to compliment you, such as, "You're my rock. You're such a great and good man. I feel safe with you." Never, "You're so good looking or sexy." Your random encounters with people and interactions with women over a time period lead to nothing, while you witness other people meeting randomly or working with coworkers, and they all have or have had trysts. Story 64. When the girl I like doesn't seem to like me back, so I try to impress her by shaving for the first time, but end up cutting my face all over. And I go to school with a paper bag over my head, but the teacher makes me take it off, and everyone laughs at me, so I become enraged and I launched a Christmas tree at them. Story 65. When you use Tinder for about a month, and it runs out of people to show you, there are no matches, meaning everyone in a 10-mile radius with Tinder looked at your pic and thought, "Nope." Also, believe me, I didn't set my standards too high.